So on today's episode, we are talking about experiencing your experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome everyone to another episode of On Finding Peace. I'm Chris, here with my co-host Missy, and we are here for another episode of quarantine and isolation time, whatever you want to call this. But I guess that's some of the things we'll be talking about. So we're going to be looking at experiencing our experience. We'll talk about what we mean by that. But a couple quick reminders. We want to thank everybody for listening. We have been noticing an increase in our viewers and listeners. So wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate you.
Yes. And want to remind everybody of the Patreon page. So if you are liking what you're hearing and you want to become a patron, check out the show notes, head over to Patreon, look us up, and you can get some really good gifts and bonuses if you want to help us out and keeping this podcast and doing all the technology that's involved in it. Also, great news if you haven't seen the social media yet, but if you happen to have one of those devices that you can talk to and it talks back to you, so if you have I'm cautious to say because I think Missy's will turn on, but if you have the Alexa apps, whether it's the Echo or the Show or on your phone or anywhere you have it, now all you need to say is, Alexa, play On Finding Peace. And you will have our whole episodes. You will get to listen to the most current episode and any episode you have yet to listen to. So give it a shot. Enable that app. And like I say, you can listen to it on all your devices, wherever you happen to have that so-named wonderful app.
Yeah. It didn't turn on, so you lucked out.
Good. So, what's happening on your end, Missy?
Well, in the midst of everything that's going on, life's been pretty good for us. Everybody's happy and healthy. Luckily nobody in my family or close circle of friends has been very affected, at least health-wise, by what's going on. We got a contract on our house yesterday, so
awesome.
We are super excited to be buying our dream home together, and so we'll be signing that contract here very shortly. As soon as you and I actually wrap up, I'm gonna get that taken care of, and be well on our way to a new home. So we're super excited about that. How about you guys? How are you doing there?
Well, that's awesome news, and I guess we'll cut this episode short. You want to go sign the contract?
Yeah, right.
But well, it is between us and a new home right now.
Yeah.
So no, it's things are going fairly well. I'm luckily, a big part of me is an introvert, so hanging out right now and kind of doing the social distancing and isn't overly troubling for me.
Yeah, right.
There are things you miss, and one of them would be choice. I normally don't choose to necessarily go and be social, but it's always the thing that's taken away is the thing that you want.
Yeah.
So having that choice to go be social would be nice. But so far, so good, and it's working out with my clients. We could do video sessions, and so that's good. I was already set up for that anyways, so it wasn't a big change. It was just moving some of the clients who weren't taking advantage of that to, that platform. But other than that, I think I'm faring on the lucky and blessed side, of some of the sad stories that I've heard, of other people's lived experience, going through this. But so we all have our own struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I've noticed is that, even though I'm up to date on the news and what's going on locally and more globally, staying away from the news has helped me tremendously not to have such a panicked experience about what's going on. And that's pretty much part of what we're here to discuss today is that, you really do need to experience those feelings when they come up. Stifling what you have going on is really, it's fear of letting out that emotion. And I think that it's probably been one of the most healing things I've learned in my life. It's been one of the lessons that I've really challenged myself with, because vulnerability growing up was like, does not happen, suck it up, don't do that, buttercup, and so I always thought it was bad, or I wasn't going to get love if I showed emotion. And so vulnerability I always thought was a weakness, really.
Right.
And so lately, even through this, it's been a very healing experience for me to actually allow those feelings out, and then pretty much just move on from it, and not, not be scared of the pain, not be scared of the hurt or the happiness, the joy. I mean, it doesn't just go for, sadness.
Yeah. No, and you bring up a really good point, because, so many people are feeling so many different emotions, and I think it's bringing up for people a lot of past issues that are now kind of hitting them. Yeah. And, one of the things that I've been hearing from my clients and non-clients, there's just social distancing, talking to neighbors. The word that I've been hearing over and over is the word should or shouldn't. I shouldn't be feeling this way, or, I shouldn't feel happy because other people are suffering. I should have done this. As true as the statements may be, I think it's important that we stay away from that word and all the variations of that word as much as possible.
Yeah, well, like Tony Robbins says, you'll shit all over yourself.
Exactly. Because when we start using that word, that, should in and of itself brings up, really expectations that we can't meet. We're either putting too great of an expectation on us in the moment that we're never going to meet that, or it's an expectation from the past that we can't go back and fix anyways.
Well, I think one of the things you've already touched on is control. It's very, I mean, we want to control the emotions. We want to control what's going on outside of us. And those just aren't always things that we have the ability to do. And I think another thing, I'm going to try and remember it verbatim, but I saw a meme just recently, and it says, when I stopped asking myself, why does this always happen to me? Or why is this happening to me? And started asking myself, what is this trying to teach me? Your entire experience can change. You're looking at the lesson of, like, okay, well, I mean, it's just as simple as something, and I use this as an example before, but like somebody cutting you off in traffic and you immediately get triggered. Well, you must do things like that if you're noticing it about somebody else, because in the moment that you interpret, you become the interpretation, which means to me that you are what you see. If you spot it, you got it.
Yep. Exactly. No, it's very important that, we learn our lessons from the past, not looking at that past as all of the negatives and the regrets and the shoulds, shouldn't haves, should haves, but really look at, what is this teaching us? Because one of the things, I really liked was a meme that I saw somewhere in social media that was something like, Let's not go back to normal because normal obviously wasn't working. It's kind of this thing, when people are saying, I can't wait for this to be over so we can go back to how we were. And there's a part of me that cringes and wonders, but what are we learning from this time frame?
Yeah.
Do we go back to normal, and is that actually a good thing? Maybe it's not so good. Maybe there's truth in that meme, that, what can we learn from the experience we're going through right now that might inform our future to maybe be better?
Well, and the other thing is, you're saying about, I totally just lost my train of thought. Cut that part out. It's more like, we have the ability to learn new things, right? But we keep comparing to the past or trying to predict the future. And that's just not possible. I keep hearing the word thrown around, uncertain. And every single moment of every day of every second of your life is uncertain. But no, well, now we're in uncertain times. Wait a minute. So you're telling me that if you were to have bought a business a year ago, that you weren't certain you were always certain at that point that it was going to work out, but that's not possible. And I have a good friend of mine I had a conversation with. It was like the concern, well, what am I going to have to do? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter. Leap and then grow your wings on the way down. That's the way I've always heard it. It's like, one of my coaches actually has said to me, it's not ready, aim, fire. It's ready, fire, aim. So you're always going to be, you're going after it, but you have to keep redirecting yourself to what you want. And when the path shifts, you shift with it, or you shift back to what you want. Okay, well, just something new you get to create around if there's an obstacle in the way. These are all lessons. This is the way the journey is, and we get to trust the process.
Yeah, no, and I really like that, because there is so much truth in that. In some of the phrases that people are using, I'm sitting back and thinking, but these are the things I've been trying to work with people on, and it's like now you're getting it.
And that's what it is. It's like this had to happen for us to get it faster. Because the world is shifting that fast, and
yep.
Could be as a result of, or in response to this COVID-19. But all I'm saying is, like, if we just go with the flow of what it is and stop resisting, we can't change it. We can't control it. But if we resist it, we're going to only hurt ourselves.
Yep. And that's where, a lot of people, like your example, and that was a perfect example, about, the uncertainty of these times, because in reality, that's what I've talked to many of my clients about through the years. Yeah. We're always in uncertain times.
Yeah.
The next moment is never guaranteed, and the next moment isn't really certain.
No.
I have my own plans for this afternoon. Are they going to happen? I would like to think they will. And I hope they will, but I can't say for sure they will, and that's not because of what we're going through. That's just life.
That's every second of my life. It's like, okay, this is my plan, but my plan gets derailed based on, clients, kids, dogs. It doesn't matter. They just and the less I resist, actually, the happier that I am. If I don't have an attachment, then I should say, when you have an attachment, you suffer, because you expect it to go out this way. Just like my buying the house, I did not at all anticipate that it would take me 2 months to sell the house. I finally got a contract, but the entire time was like, I'm going to leave it in the universe's hands. Whatever happens, happens. I get to trust. If the house that I'm going to buy gets sold during the process, well, I get to trust that something better is coming along. And God, I feel stress-free. I feel carefree, and it doesn't make me panic, because I'm here. My job is to be this moment, not my past stories, not the circumstances that I lived in, not the future that I'm trying to predict, but to be this moment right here is the ability to really kind of let that higher power and love flow through you into whatever you have in your circumstances, whoever is in your circumstances.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping that people begin to learn, and maybe we take with us when this is over. I mean, at some point this will be over. I mean, I think that's fairly a guarantee. Almost everything else is not a guarantee. I mean, who knows what that's going to be like when it's over, but it will be over.
Sure.
But one of the things that I hope people take is a newfound appreciation and sense of the mindfulness,
Yeah.
that all we have is the moment. And one thing that I've noticed from a number of people is they're saying, well, at least I'm slowing down.
Yeah. It's forcing us. That's it.
Yeah.
It is forcing us to take a break. We are in the do all the time, and I'm going to say do because it sounds funny, but that's what we do. I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, got to walk the dogs, got to take the bunnies out, got to sit down and do the desk and, take care of my business stuff. That's constant doership. But if I'm not coming from a place of happiness, of beingness, of love and honor and joy and happiness and peace, then my day is going to be extremely chaotic. And with that, I get caught up in it not being those ways of being is in my mind when I attach myself to a thought of not enoughness or unworthiness or sadness or depression or worry, whatever it is. And then that's when I experience the negative. I'm like, okay, I have to release this because it's not serving me. And as soon as you do, it's like almost like holding a cork underwater. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you release it, the cork's floating again. And you're like, oh, wow, I feel so much better.
Yep. And, for those who have that ability to stay home now for work, and, maybe you're getting all your stuff now delivered to your house and, think about, all of the extra time you have now gained by not commuting, not going out to the store, and maybe not having some of these activities that now, we're maybe sitting back and saying, maybe that wasn't even a necessary activity to begin with. So, yeah, how do we start thinking through some of this stuff that, coming to this understanding, maybe some of the time I was spending on things didn't need to be spent. So I think then the question is, so how are you going to use your time now? And, what are you going to do when we're done and then the bosses say, we'll come back to work? What are you going to do to kind of take some of this with you so that we don't just jump back into those old routines and, eventually find ourselves in the same position where we're all, stressed and tired and that kind of stuff.
I think one of the things that I've heard recently that really hit home was that in what we're doing now, we have less distractions, which give us the opportunity to heal what's going on within us more. It gives us the opportunity to get to know the energy that's inside us and bring us closer with Source, Universe, God, however you want to say it. And in doing that, I really do think that there's going to be a greater shift in the way we treat each other, in the way that life is happening for us, in the happiness that we get to experience. So it's actually a really exciting time for me to be able to witness that. And, and I know that most people don't see it that way. I know most people are like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. And I'm not negating that fact, but I'm saying that what's going to emerge is what I'm excited about.
And I think, this is the perfect time for perspective. How do we shift the way we do look at this?
Yeah.
So when people are saying, how horrible this is, and just like with you, I'm not going to minimize anybody's, pain or suffering or whatever you're going through. But at the same time, if you shift your perspective and try to find some of the good, what are some of the positives happening now in your experience? So maybe you do have some extra time or, some of those distractions have been taken away from you. What are you going to do to take care of yourself during this period? And, one of the things that I've noticed, at least in my area, is there's a lot more people who are out walking, jogging, riding bicycles. People seem to be waving at everyone. So I wonder if there's this idea where people are just getting friendlier. Um, I had to go to one of the big box stores yesterday and pick up my order, and um, I don't remember employees ever being mean, but they never were like out of their way nice either. It was just that was their job; they did their job. I encountered at least 3 different people yesterday as I'm sitting in the car waiting for them to bring the stuff out, and they were the nicest that can be. Everybody's saying hello. Hey, is somebody helping you yet? Getting the stuff. The person who was loading the car was like, hey, do you want me to put this here? What about this? Asked about a product. Hey, I see you got this. Never tried it. What do you think?
When I think
so.
I'm sorry. I think that's part of the common humanity. We really do realize that everybody is hashtag in this together. This is not just a local to our state. This is not to our city. It is a global pandemic, and everybody is experiencing it. And I think that might be a great listener challenge.
Listener challenge.
Listener challenge. We need to be more appreciative of the people that have been out in this working 100% of the time, nonstop. Factory workers to get us the products that we need. Farmers are getting us the food that we need. The face-to-face store cashiers, the bankers. I'm sure the list could go on and on. Truckers, hospital workers. I could go on and on, but what is something that we could do for them to show them our appreciation? I have seen some really incredible displays of love. That's something else that has really been beautiful emerging from this. A daughter who couldn't go to her prom, and her dad put on his tuxedo, got her all dressed up, got flowers from the garden. Mom made a corsage, and they had a nice little prom. I've seen chalk writing on the entry to the hospital where they were saying, thank you, you're wonderful, you're doing a great job, you're amazing. Things like that just they hit home. They make you so touched and loving and emotional and warm and fuzzy on the inside, but those are the people that are keeping America going right now. Yes, we're all working. Yes, we're still doing our best, but not all of us are in those positions that we're exposed to what's going on either.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome listener challenge, and looking forward to people responding and hearing what it is that you are doing with this, and because we can choose to respond to this in negative ways and keep those negative emotions going, or we can choose the positive side and just try to figure we are in this together. And when you talk about the control, there's nothing we can do about what's happening, but we can do everything about how we respond to this. And if we start kind of sharing that love and being kinder to people and really starting to understand who's important in our world, and I've seen a lot of memes about that, and I think that's great, but I think there's some truth that, even though, athletes and movie stars and all that, they're great people in and of themselves. They have their own talent, but I think we need to put that in perspective. Yeah. Are they essential to the running of a country, running of a world? They have their role to play and their parts to play. But I think it's important now to start looking at who's essential.
Yeah.
And maybe beginning to change some of that social dialogue as well. Especially when we start looking at, future careers and all. I've seen that other meme going around, if your kid doesn't know what to do in the future, look at who's still working right now.
Yeah.
That to start looking, what are those jobs that will always be around regardless of what's going on around the world. And that can put a whole different shift on society when we do move forward from this.
Absolutely agree. it's definitely been eye-opening, I think, for everybody. And it's sorry, things going on in the background. It's important to remember that thoughts are not you. They don't have to be, what you consider. Sorry, let me set up this room here real quick because they definitely want to play. Hey, oh, go to your room. I'm sorry. Yeah, thoughts are just thoughts. They're not what, they can go away just as easily as they come. If we attach ourselves to them, then we're going to experience things that aren't so pleasant. If we just allow the cork to float and go with the flow, then we're going to have an easier experience, and it's going to be one you're going to want to share with people. It's going to be one that's going to be, one you're learning from, and you're going to want to make sure that everybody else kind of has that same kind of experience.
Yep. No, most definitely. And that's why I really like this topic of experiencing your experience, because I think that's really what we've been talking about is that whatever you're going through is what you're going through, and feel it, live through it. But I think the important thing is learn from it, because when we do get to move forward and get released, so to speak, we're going to have choices to make. Do we go back to normal as usual, or do we take some of these aspects that we've been noticing, all these caring things and creative things people are doing, and expressions of love, are we going to continue that, or are we just going to go back to the way we were?
Yeah, I really think that this can change us as a society. I mean, they say that we kind of go through a pattern, a wave of, a me generation, an us generation, a me generation, an us generation. And I do feel like recently it has been a very much a me-oriented generation. And I think that this is part of that shift right now, is that we are really not just looking at ourselves anymore. We're looking at our communities, our families. We're looking at everything more on a bigger picture. We're kind of getting a bird's eye perspective and seeing what affects who's in our life and how we can help them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So hopefully we don't go back to normal.
Yeah.
Whatever normal is.
Yeah.
But as I was saying at the beginning, even for me as an introvert, I'd like to go back to having the choice of going out and being social if I want. But a lot of lessons that we can be learning from this. And
well, there is one thing that I hope we kind of do go back to, because I really like hugging. Hugging it's good. It's nice, warm welcome to people. I mean, handshakes are great too, but like when you really know somebody and you want to hug them and you want to just give them a good squeeze, like I miss that, because now we're doing the COVID foot shuffle or whatever, like tapping each other's feet and so just my 2 cents. I like hugging.
Cool. And I hope we go back to that or increase that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there is good in what we were all doing prior to this, but what wasn't so good that, we can hopefully improve from.
Yeah.
So I think that's, part of this, lived experience, for all of us who are going to survive the quarantine. It is all going to be, hopefully about, well, what did I learn from that, so that I can impart that into my future.
Yeah. Well, wrapping up, I guess.
Yep. Well, that's why I was going to go with it.
I could feel it. I knew something was going on there. I would have to say that if I had any final thoughts, they would be just be in the moment with whatever is that's going on. Just be in the moment, and it will make life so much easier for you if you just allow it to all flow through, and it'll be over quicker than if you resist.
True. And I do like that last point. The more we resist things, the longer and harder things are.
Yeah.
So, kind of go with the flow, and it is what it is. And
And don't
you
be
know,
stubborn.
yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, Missy, and this has been a great topic, and I look forward to hearing from everyone for the listener challenge and see what everyone comes up with. So feel free to send us messages, either on the platform of which you're listening, through our social media. Check out the show notes where all of our web pages are listed. Don't forget about the new Alexa app out there, and also
And give me
the
the warm and
Patreon
fuzzy
page.
stuff. I love the warm and fuzzy stuff.
We'll shift all the warm and fuzzy stuff to Missy's
That's
inbox,
right.
and
Yes.
the other stuff over to mine. So yeah, so that'll be great to see that, and yeah, let's see where we get, and maybe we can do a shared blog post on what people are doing and their suggestions that
That would
can
be amazing.
help everybody else out.
Yes, I would love that so much.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, have a good day and enjoy signing your contracts and
Yes, I will.
what all of that entails.
Okay, thank you guys so much for listening.